Good afternoon, Liam. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Peter. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much. Liam, welcome to the Business Spotlight. Could you tell me a little about what you do and how long have you done it for, please?
Yeah, Enviroform Solutions was started in 2011, so currently running about 12 years. We're a specialist insulation company, particularly focusing on retrofit insulation to old properties where typically there's no cavity. Therefore, you have to either insulate outside or inside the wall. Also, we've got an element of new build, where space is a premium. Probably our unique selling point is we're only one of two companies in the UK and Ireland that sell, market and process aerogel insulation, which is one of the highest performing insulation materials in the market today.
And whereabouts would this be, like in Northern Ireland or in the UK? I mean, aerogel. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, aerogel is it's a high performance insulation. It was invented, well, aerogel, the material has been about maybe 60, 70 years, but the process of making it into a workable product was achieved by Aspen Aerogels in the US in early 80s, and they particularly were challenged by NASA to make aerogel into a workable product, and therefore an aerogel blanket came along. Historically, or the first use was for elbow pads in spacesuits. So it's basically been invented for a high performance, and it's found its way into the building industry over the last 10-15 years. Still historically, 90% of the world aerogel will go into oil, sea, gas, MOD, but we're specifically focusing on building and construction, where space is an absolute premium. So therefore, our markets predominantly, Northern Ireland is probably only 2 to 4% of our total sales. Southern Ireland's about 15%, and 80% of our aerogel would go into predominantly into London markets, where we're dealing with high-end properties, but space is valuable. Therefore, you're paying for space.
That sounds really interesting. So around 80% plus of the businesses in London.
Yes, it would be, yeah, because they're basically prepared to pay for the space saving that aerogel can achieve. So typically, it will save you at least 50% of space, given the fact that it's probably 68 times more expensive. However, the return on investment by saving that space works in inner city London, typically maybe possibly Dublin, but the prime area for it is basically the London market.
Fantastic. And tell me, Liam, what was the spark that led to the business forming in 2011?
Well, it was the need for reducing carbon. Most houses before 1950, 60s had no cavities. So therefore, there was 9 to 10 million properties left uninsulated with solid walls in the UK. Therefore, the focus was then to try and develop systems, solutions that would actually look at this market and try and, because it was, no matter how many new houses you build, there'll always be more older houses. And even on uninsulated houses, insulated houses that have been insulated, say, in the 70s, 80s, are now no longer performing to the required standard. So you're now adding that on. So there is millions of houses left uninsulated, and obviously energy is becoming more expensive. And one of our main focuses is that basically old walls are different than new walls, so the science behind it. So it was developed out of that need for retrofitting of all these houses. And the main market was always going to be England anyway, because of the numbers.
That's a really interesting stats there. So tell me, what's been the most significant lesson that you've learned as a business owner so far?
Probably focus, in that don't do everything at once. Get your strengths. Sometimes when you're an innovator, you want to basically look at every aspect, and sometimes you have to go into the market and provide a simple solution for customers and then gain that trust. And that's probably the most thing, is that rather than doing it all at once, get 2 or 3 core products that work for you, generate enough sales to get the income. Because if you're trying to do too much at once, basically you don't generate enough income to reinvest to basically keep going. So that would be my lesson, is that focus on really 1 or 2 things, and then introduce things afterwards when you've got that established sort of 2 or 3 products. The market in construction is not ready for probably 10 to 12 different things, because what you tend to do is, in our market, in the retrofit market, is you're going against what everybody else is being said to you. So would be my probably lesson.
All right, great share. And tell me, who do you consider to be a successful business leader or mentor in your industry?
Industry, my industry, insulation industry. It's a difficult one for me to basically answer, because we're only a small part of the insulation industry, a very, very small part, and we realize that. So difficult. You know, you have large companies, like obviously the first person you think of in respect to insulation is Kingspan, because of the market share they have. However, I really can't answer that question. I don't really have, should I say, someone in the insulation market that I would sort of say like they are the leader in, you know, insulation markets. But the likes of Almac is a company who used to run Almac, Dr. McClay, was it? Someone like that is prepared to basically put the people before profit. And I'm a great believer in doing things right. And once companies get so large, they're driven by shareholders rather than by quality. And a typical example of the insulation business was the Grenfell disaster. And it is an absolute shame that happened, but that was driven by greed. And unfortunately, we have a principle here: we don't do anything that would ever harm actually the building fabric or the people that's in it. And we live by them principles. Now, we lose sales because of that, but principles to us is the key factor in business. It's not profit. Yes, it's very important. Profit, sales are very important, but doing the thing right. So it's people like that, the likes of who basically, you know, could have got bigger, but just sold his business, came back into Portadown, Craigavon, and restarted it, and it was for the good of the people rather than that. So that would be sort of my who I'd look up to, as someone that has basically done it in principle, rather than driven by profit.
Tell me, Liam, what's been one of the toughest obstacles you've had to overcome in your business journey so far?
In the insulation business is obviously when you're dealing with a product that's new, and still a lot of people have never heard of aerogel. A lot of people haven't heard of built-in physics in insulation. And the one thing that we get, it would be that one solution fits all. And that whole built-in physics element of that. And people have to make the mistake before they learn the lesson. And once you make the mistake, it becomes such more expensive. So really, that's, you know, we're a small company trying to make inroads into doing it right. And really that challenge, if I'm sitting on a stand and a large company sitting beside me in an exhibition, they're not going to listen to me, like, even though I might tell the exact science behind it, they'll go, well, look at the size of my company. What will they know? And we find that all the time, you know what I mean? And even after the likes of disasters and Grenville and the products that were used in that, and architects will still go back and use them. And we'll go, well, why? Well, it's easy but that's the challenge, is that trying to get your voice heard among companies that have massive budgets, massive marketing campaigns, and brand. You know, brand is obviously a big thing, but you know, it's that sort of challenge, is that trying to get your voice heard among all that.
And tell me, what's currently motivating you and driving your passion for your business at the minute? Really to help people, you know what I mean? To really try and do things right. You know, it's been a difficult soul process in respect to 11 years on. You know, the first 7 or 8 years sort of stagnant, and then this last 2 or 3 years,
starting to grow more and more. So growth is one thing, but what drives me on, I enjoy it. I enjoy, whether it's a £10 order, a £1,000 order, I don't differentiate between orders. I just like to, help people, advise people, and that's all we can do. Usually if I can speak to people, I can convince them, but you can't convince everyone. And sometimes the noises from the outside overcome what you're trying to tell them. And ultimately, that's probably what drives me, is to make sure we do it right.
And I'm sure it wasn't that long ago, Liam, but if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to yourself at the age of 18 years of age?
I don't know. The thing is that I'm never happy doing something simple, if you know what I mean. I could sit. I started off in London and British Steel as a buyer and worked for large organizations, but ultimately the itch was there to do something myself. Didn't know what to do, but probably not trust as many people as I did. In some respect, your own gut, and start small. You can start very small in that, but I suppose I've always the itch of doing something that's different, and I wouldn't be interested in doing standard stuff. So really that'd be the advice. And I keep saying, well, sure, I should have sort of stayed employed for the rest, but I can't be happy being employed. That's just the nature of what I do. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy, obviously, the time you can. You never switch off, but I never switch off anyway. So, that's advice to myself, is probably the only thing, is that just be careful who you get involved with in that respect, is because I've made a lot of mistakes. There's no doubt about that. Just ask my wife. But this last 12 years, I've sort of got my own focus now, and this is what I'm doing, and it's outside of everybody else's influence.
Very good, very good. And so tell me, what does your business look like in 5 years' time?
Really, in 5 years' time, really what we're looking for is sort of those natural growth is one. I'm not sort of looking for 20-30% every annum, 10-15%, because the secret to our business is we're small, we have a low overhead, and because we have a high value product, we can actually produce quite high value products with very, very little overhead. And upset that balance would be something I wouldn't really want to do. So it's continue to grow and look at new markets. Like, there's new markets coming on with aerogel, is batteries in the car industry. So basically, battery aerogel insulation is probably the biggest market for aerogel outside of construction, is the battery insulation market for cars, for the likes of, batteries. So you're talking 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter aerogel pads for simple things like your laptop. So your battery can perform 30-40% more. Things like that is where we'd be looking to move the business away to a certain extent, or increase the business outside of the built and construction element of it, because companies are prepared to pay for performance, and performance is measured in these industries, while in the construction industry it's very, very hard to measure what you do. It's impossible to measure what you do, because there's so many sort of components within the structure of a house. While if you've got a battery or something, that if you add a bit of aerogel, after a period of time, this product has performed 40% better. And it's quite easy, and well, it's going to cost me X to do that. So this X gives me 40% more. Is it commercially viable? Yes, no. And that's where really we see the business going, is the different markets where performance is key.
Well, it's really interesting stuff. I've learned so much today, Liam. Thank you very much indeed. And indeed, if somebody likes the sound of what they've heard and would like to reach out to you, what would be the best way to go about that?
Well, just email or contact me, or there's no issues with getting in contact with me really anytime. you know, even if it's for help. You know, I'm a big believer in cooperation, you know, helping people. And unfortunately in the industry, there's not a lot of that. Everybody's out to sort of get their own steer on it. But my motto always been, if I can help you, if you can get a competitive advantage out of using my products, use them. If you can't, we just say, well, we tried. But I'm honest and respect is that it's an expensive product, and if you can't get a return on it, I'm not going to sell it. But exhaust this, you know, exhaust the solution, you know what I mean, and work together to try and get a solution. So I'm always happy for cooperation.
Superb. Well, Liam Brown from Enviroform Solutions, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It's been really interesting to hear about your journey and your business. So thank you, and I wish you all the success for the remainder of 2023 and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Bye.